has nothing to do with self-determination. If it did, bye everybody. These are supposed to be college students. Right, they're supposed to be learning something.
Open-minded.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Really open-minded.
They're open-minded.
Actually, I was here, I was on this campus 11 years ago.
Is that on camera?
I had a similar walkout. I was speaking about reparations for slavery 137 years after the fact, when there were no slaves left in America. Actually, unfortunately, there are slaves all over the world, but it's not those slaves. Okay, 80% was given to Jordan, and the British, being anti-Semites, including, well, actually Churchill said some nice things about the Jews, but they made a rule that no Jew could have land in Jordan. And they divided the 20%, they divided equally. I made this look equal, but it don't matter. Equally between the Arabs and the Jews, except they gave the Jews, somewhere down here, a desert. So the Jews got whatever 40% and 50% is. On the day Israel was created, they were attacked. The Jews were attacked by 8 Arab countries. That war has never ended. That is an aggressive war against the Jews. When the Jews won, miracle that they did, they wanted to sign a peace, so that and have a Palestinian state. But the Arabs did not want a Palestinian state, and they have rejected it every time it's been offered, because that's not the agenda. The agenda is now to make this entire area Muslim. Islam is an imperial religion. And you don't have to take my word for it. You just read what they say. You can't leave Islam. If you're an apostate, the sentence is death. There's no leaving Islam. And there also is no way of retreating from the Ummah. Once an area is Muslim, it has to stay Muslim. Now what happened in 1949 when this war was over? Egypt annexed Gaza. This is Egypt. Well, whatever. Egypt annexed Gaza, swallowed it, disappeared. And Jordan annexed the entire West Bank. It became part of Jordan. Not a peep out of the entire Arab world about the annexation of Gaza and the annexation of Jordan. Because it's not about self-determination for the Palestinians, or the Arabs for that matter. It's about getting rid of the Jews. And the slogan of the Arabs was, push the Jews into the sea. That was the actual slogan. The founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, Hassan al-Banna, was an admirer of Hitler, who translated Mein Kampf into Arabic in the 30s, said in 1948, if the Jews get a state in Israel, Islam will push the Jews into the sea. That's the agenda. In 1964, the West Bank was still part of Jordan. and Gaza was still part of Egypt, the Palestine Liberation Organization was formed. You can read their document on the internet. You will not find a word about liberating the Palestinians of the West Bank, self-determination for them, or for Gaza. It's all about obliterating the Zionists, Israel. That's who these people are. The West Bank and Gaza became released from or liberated from Egypt and Jordan as a result of the '67 war, the second aggression by the Arabs to destroy the Jewish state. Israel offered then, I'm going to come to the Gaza story in a bit here, offered to give Gaza back to Egypt and tried to give Jordan back to the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, the historic homeland of the Jews, give it to Jordan. And they refused. And in fact, the Arab aggressors all met in Khartoum in 1967, and they came out with a statement which is always referred to as the three no's. No recognition of Israel, no negotiation, no peace. And that's why Israeli troops are stationed here in these areas. So technically there's an occupation in that sense. You have an enemy who wants to kill you, destroy you, eliminate you, and we will not sign a peace. What do? Israel, I've drawn a terrible map here because Israel is teeny little, it's got a little waistline here of about 9 miles, which you can drive a tank across. How fast does a tank go? I don't know, in 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And of course, a rocket, it's instantaneous. Completely indefensible. What is the international procedure, the international law, the international tradition for dealing with aggressors when they lose? It's to redraw the map so that their victim has a greater ability to defend themselves the next time. Germany attacked Poland twice in the 20th century. So in 1945, the Allies took the entire region of East Prussia, which was the industrial heartland of Germany, and gave it to Poland. Gave it to Poland. Now, I wish I'd forgotten the names. You know, you get to a certain point in life, the names go out. But Gdańsk, well, anyway.
Gdańsk, Poland.
Gdańsk, yeah, it's Poland, but it used to have a German name that I forgot. Anyway, how many people had to be resettled? How many Germans did they pull out of East Prussia and resettle? 12 million! 12 million Germans were uprooted from their homes that they had lived in since the 12th century or whatever. I don't know this history very well either. But it's hundreds and hundreds of years. And nobody complained. If the Jews had acted the way other nations act, in 1967, they would have annexed the West Bank and they would have moved all the Arabs into Jordan where they belong. They didn't do that. The Jews try to be nice. If we're nice to them, they'll be nice to us. No, they won't. They hate you. When Israel controlled the West Bank and Gaza in the 70s and 80s, they poured hundreds of millions of dollars into these territories. They created universities. They got out when again, and Israeli politicians are as much responsible for this. You cannot blame this on Clinton. The Oslo Accords, which were pushed by the left. The Oslo Accords brought Arafat, a terrorist, back from Tunisia, where he was in exile, and gave him control. I mean, I had to pinch myself when I read the statistics. But within 6 months, the standard of living in Gaza declined by 25%, and the unemployment rate went from 10 to 40%. These are, not only are these evil people the real oppressors of Palestinians, which is Hamas, the PLO, the Arab states, but they are incredibly corrupt. 90% of the jobs in Gaza today are government jobs. I won't make a joke about that. And it's not like these are the malicious intent towards the Jews, the hatred for the Jews, the kill the Jews mentality. It's not like it's extraneous to this struggle. It is this struggle. The father of Palestinian nationalism was Haj Amin al-Husseini, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who led massacres of the Jews in the 20s and 30s because they were Jews, before the creation of the State of Israel. He was a Nazi. He went to Berlin, literally a Nazi. He went to Berlin to serve Hitler. He was a protege, by the way, of Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. He went to Berlin and recruited an Arab legion to fight for Hitler. And he also drew up his own plans to create an Auschwitz, death camps, in the Middle East. And the only reason that those plans weren't implemented was because of the defeat of Rommel and Al-Alamein. Today, he is honored as the George Washington of the Palestinians. There's holidays in his honor. Haj Amin al-Husseini. This is a Nazi movement. The quotes I read you at the outset are Nazi quotes. The difference is this. Hitler hid his plans for a final solution from the German people because he thought they were too civilized to accept them. The Palestinians and the Iranians, who were, they're not Arabs, but the Iranians, they shouted from the rooftops. And where's the great dissent in the Muslim world? Look, sorry all our Muslim friends have left, but there are good Muslims and there are bad Muslims. And the majority of Muslims are probably good Muslims. But there are good Germans too, and in the end they didn't make a damn's worth of difference. Not a damn's worth of difference. I will know a moderate Muslim when they stand up and condemn these kind of statements and the actions that they inspire. It's not really hard to know who your friends are. But a lot of people have difficulty in knowing who their enemies are. And that's the problem we are facing today. Since Gaza is, for the younger people here, is something that they remember, let's go into Gaza. As I said, the Jews offered to give Gaza back to Egypt. Now, the reason they were occupying Gaza, and Egypt rejected it, the three no's: no negotiation, no recognition, no peace. The reason that they occupied Gaza was they had been invaded twice. Actually, 3 times. Because they were attacked again in 1973. But at some point, of course, there's all this global pressure. Why is there a global pressure? Not only because Islam is global, but also because the left, the secular international left, which is supposed to care about women and gays, were hung from cranes in Islamic country, and women, there is no greater oppressor of women in the world today than Islam. With that, there isn't even the slightest question. 90% of the women of Egypt have their clitorises sliced off from Muslim custom. And most of these clitorectomies are done without anesthetic on adolescent girls with kitchen knives. Where's the outcry? What's the Women's Studies Department on this campus saying about that? I actually have visited them on occasion and asked them, and you should hear their excuses. So Gaza. Sharon decided that Israel would unilaterally withdraw from Gaza because there's this incredible pressure that comes. It's the settlements that are the problem. There were 7,500 Jews in Gaza. Why are settlements a problem? There are more than a million Arabs settled in Israel. It's not a problem for it's becoming a problem because they're increasingly being swept up in this Islamic revolution that's taking place that we ludicrously call the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
It's the Muslim winter is what it is. Why are settlements a problem? What's wrong with Jews living in the West Bank? It's because the Arabs are racist. Racism isn't the obvious, but it's the same idea. They hate the Jews and they don't want any Jews living there. How do I know? Because Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the PLO, has said so in so many words. There are not going to be any Jews in a liberated Palestine.